I'm Washayla Sananda. Thank you for being here with me. Today, I have this topic that it's something I have been working on personally for pretty much as long as I can remember, for many, many years. And it's the topic of manifestation, prosperity consciousness, lack consciousness, how to clear the blocks of prosperity so that we can really abundantly receive from the universe, receive our divine gifts, receive the ability to be fully supported, to feel safe, to feel uplifted, to feel ultimately freedom consciousness, which is very tied to prosperity consciousness and lack consciousness. So while this isn't specifically about money, this is about a consciousness and what it takes to open your consciousness and let go of the things that are in the way for you creating the life that you see as your freedom lifestyle. Whatever that is for you. For some people, that's going to live in the woods whenever they want and, camping and living very minimalistically. For other people, that's having a luxury lifestyle where they get to be on yachts and have an oceanfront penthouse or, those types of things. And then everything in between. And there's no right or wrong way to envision freedom for yourself. That's very personal. What does freedom mean to you? And so this is really the exploration. And I'm going to share with you some realizations I've had around this very recently and see if I can help you unlock your freedom blocks, your prosperity blocks, or whatever that might be that you feel is holding you back from having your greatest freedom experience in this lifetime. Before I dive in, I would love to ask you to give this video a like, subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. You can hit the bell for notifications if you want to be notified. I release a new video every Tuesday and most Fridays. So that's how you can kind of stay in touch with me and my work and help other people find this video and my work as well. Thank you for that. And now the conversation around releasing blocks to our ultimate freedom. First of all, there's this huge awareness that I got this week around receiving and giving and receiving. Through the years, I have taken so many different courses, read so many books, and studied with different teachers about prosperity consciousness and really ultimately reaching an experience of freedom, including Dr. Joe Dispenza, Neville Goddard. Of course, I watched The Secret. I followed many of the people that spoke in that movie, Abraham Hicks. I'm sure the list goes on and on and on. And, I could keep rattling off names, but you get the picture. And you're possibly someone who's done the same. And if you're someone that's also done that, let me know in the comments. So, we're on the same page here. And just recently, I've found this is really interesting too. This is a little bit of an aside. When I go out, I like to do a walk every day if possible. And when I do that walk, I listen to a podcast or something that I'm really interested in learning about. I find that a good time when I'm walking to receive information and learn. And so what's been happening some of the time, and this is newer for me, is that as I'm listening, I start to receive downloads, sometimes in the realm of what I'm listening to, but sometimes in a completely different realm that in some way has been opened up by what I'm listening to. And I first started noticing this probably a couple of years ago when I was doing regular beach walks and I was listening to the Law of One, and I would just start to get these downloads and transformations as I was listening to it. Whether or not it was what they were talking about wasn't it didn't even matter. It was just that there was this opening of my consciousness, and then new ideas, new thoughts, new information could drop in. And so this has been happening ever since. And I had this happen last week while I was listening to something in the realm of prosperity. And I had this deepening of understanding some of the world of what it is to release lack consciousness and open up to what I really like to call freedom consciousness. It's beyond prosperity consciousness, freedom consciousness. Where I got to was most of the time we're being told to give in order to open up our ability to receive, or give and then that will be returned to us. It's a very common spiritual teaching in the realm of manifestation. Tithing is something that you'll hear a lot about, and many people have a lot of success with this, and sometimes people don't have success with it. And so I was thinking about how all of these things fit together. Why do people give? Well, there are lots of reasons. Sometimes they give because it feels good. Sometimes they give out of obligation. When you're giving out of obligation, for instance, if you're tithing because you feel like you have to, because your church or your teacher told you you have to, then you're giving out of obligation. You might be giving out of obligation if you're not really on board with it 100% and you're doing it kind of begrudgingly. Then the energy that you're giving with, if it's one of resentment, if you're feeling rebellious, if you're feeling like, I don't want to do this, what are the chances that you're going to unlock freedom for yourself? Not very high. I'm not saying it can't happen, but it's not very high. You're more likely blocking yourself from that prosperity in giving out of obligation or resentment in any way. So first look for, don't give if you're resenting giving. Don't even give in that energy. It's not the right energy to give from. You want to be giving from a space of giving out of generosity. And even that, if you're giving to be generous, or if you're giving in order to receive favor, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but what you're going to get back, maybe you will get, acknowledgement, favor, fame, tax breaks. People give generously oftentimes to receive something in return. That's not a wrong thing, again, but just to be conscious of the energy in which you're giving. If you're giving in order to receive, then you could actually be missing out on releasing the blocks to your freedom, your ultimate freedom. So where we want to get to is giving to give, giving for the sake of giving. And I think this is why, I believe it's in the Bible, it's said something about giving anonymously. And I couldn't tell you where, but I know growing up, I grew up Lutheran, so I know I heard somewhere along the line that it's good to give anonymously. And giving anonymously is a step in the right direction to giving for giving's sake. You're not looking for something in return. You're not looking to be acknowledged for your generosity. You're not looking for favor. You're not looking for tax breaks. You're not looking for, well, if I give this, I'll get that. It's giving anonymously, is giving for the sake of giving. So that's absolutely a step in the right direction. Giving because it feels good. Wonderful. I hope that it feels good to give, serving others because it feels good. That's great. That can also be a reason to give that might not be 100%. And we're really talking about incrementally moving into greater levels of freedom. So I'm not saying not to give because it feels good, absolutely feel good about it. But notice, is the reason you're giving because you want some sort of dopamine hit, because when you give, you feel this adrenaline rush. You're like, oh, it feels so great. Or because when you see someone receive, you're appreciating watching that person receive, which is a beautiful thing as well. I'm just talking about how can we take this to an even higher dimension, an even higher realm of giving for no reason other than giving not because you want acknowledgement or to be seen or to be viewed as generous or favor or tax breaks or anything of that sort, but giving for the sake of giving because it expands you. And here's the next key piece of this: giving because it's you that is receiving. You're ultimately giving to yourself because you are that other person, because at this highest level of consciousness, we're all one. You know, we say that a lot, but how much do we really realize it? So I'm inviting you to a new layer, sort of to peel a new layer of seeing us all in oneness. When you give to someone else, you are receiving as well, because you are that person receiving. So this takes out the piece of, if there's any part of you that's giving out of maybe guilt, if you have a great amount of prosperity and you're giving and feeling guilty if you don't give, then you can release that in giving anonymously, or in giving to the idea that it's yourself receiving on that other end. We're looking at all of these different things that we get in our own way about. A lot of people will not allow themselves to be prosperous because of guilt, because we know there are so many people in the world that are starving, that are hungry, that don't have enough money to get their bills paid, that, for whatever reason, can barely live. And for those of us who have prosperity, who have wealth, sometimes there's guilt around that. So absolutely keep giving, and not because you feel guilty, but to see yourself as that other person, which also takes out the above, the classism. Sometimes people that have a higher status or higher wealth will give, and there's this potentially this feeling of giving to those less fortunate, giving to those who are needy, giving to those in poverty. All like that consciousness is actually kind of classist, if you think about it. Not seeing us as equals so much as I might be giving because simply because somebody's in need. Beautiful reason to give. And again, looking at the higher consciousness, that's me in that other body. I'm also the person in poverty. I'm also the person struggling. I'm also the person who's hungry, as well as the person who's well-fed, as well as the person who has their needs met. Identifying as there is an aspect of me that is that other person. Of course, I want to give when I can reach the level of seeing myself in everybody else. That is truly service to other. From the law of one, the goal is to be more service to other than service to self. However, I think there's a tweak that can be done in the language of that, because it's the ultimate freedom for me is seeing that I am all of the people, all of the places, all of the animals, all of the plants. I am all of the elements, the earth herself, the cosmos, the universe. When I am all of that, and I'm experiencing the desire to give and the joy of giving, and I'm desiring more freedom to open up for myself, to see that when I give, when I share of myself and it's received by others, that I'm expanding myself and my own ability to receive, because I am the one receiving, because I am the one in need in the other person. And for me, this is a pretty deep contemplation, the reasons why. And I've thought about this a lot. Many, many years ago, I learned of tithing, and I really thought about the why. And they're like, well, if I tithe because I want something back, doesn't that negate the tithing? And this for me is kind of the tweak of consciousness where, yeah, that's actually possibly very true. If you're tithing to receive, you're not tithing truly for freedom or out of freedom. When you're giving, and this isn't just about tithing, this is also giving of your time, your energy, your resources. I give here my teachings. I give my realizations, my downloads to share with you in hopes that it will be received and expand you and contribute to your life in some way and open up your freedom, open up your prosperity consciousness, release your blocks, release your lack consciousness, clear those things, allow them to transform and move out of your field. My ultimate reason for sharing this is that this consciousness is received and expands you or transforms you in some way. The reason for doing this is to share consciousness. And I do love to receive your feedback. I love to receive the comments. I love to hear, has this changed or shifted something for you? What did you get out of it? When you share that with me, I also expand my consciousness and my freedom. So there is a reciprocal thing going on. And I am sharing this with myself in other bodies, in other forms of consciousness. So you listening to me right now is also me receiving this and expanding from it. At least that is at the highest level my intention. This is about freedom for me. It's not about money. It's about freedom. Prosperity is so much more than just money, even though money's part of that. And there's nothing wrong with money. It's just part of opening up to, there's so much more to clear in order to truly be free. So I guess if I could give you a challenge, it would be write down or contemplate or meditate on, where are you blocking your own freedoms? And a challenge number 2, the challenge is practice some anonymous giving. It could be time, it could be money, it could be, whatever you think you want it to be, whatever works for you. But practice some anonymous giving for the sake of giving. Can you give for the sake of giving without being concerned about, well, what will I get in return, or how much tax relief will this bring me, or whatever that might be? Giving for the sake of giving, and then next level, giving knowing that the receiver of what you're giving is you. I am receiving this. And then practicing also, so many of us have blocks to receiving. So notice how that shifts your own ability to receive. Notice how does your energy change? How does your mind change around the giving? If you're giving just for giving, for no other reason than to be giving, and then does it open up the joy of receiving more for you? Because on some level, somewhere, someone's receiving what you've given, and that's you receiving that. So you get to tune into that part of you that's also receiving and feel the joy of receiving. And something else that this might open up for you is, are there things in your world, like clutter in your home, or knickknacks or mementos, or maybe hand-me-downs, or things that you've inherited that you've been holding on to but that don't bring you joy, that don't make you feel free, don't help you, assist you in your freedom? If so, look around your space and notice, what in my space could I potentially give away, give to someone who would receive it gratefully and love receiving it? And what does that open up for you? And it opens up your space, so there's more freedom of energy to flow. And also, every item that we hold on to, we have some of our energy stored with that item. So, you know, Marie Kondo, her, does it inspire joy? Looking around, she asks, you know, to look at your items in your home, in your space, and say, does this inspire joy? And if it doesn't, to give it away and see what that opens up for you. And I have been practicing that lately. Also, when I purchase something, I refrain from purchasing something because it's a good deal. I was raised, my mom loves a good deal, so I was raised to look for a good deal. But when you purchase something because it's a good deal, are you purchasing it because it inspires joy, or because it was a good deal, in which case it's just an extra thing to have around? So to notice that in yourself, also in your receiving. Am I receiving things out of obligation? Am I receiving because I feel like I have to? Am I keeping this thing because I feel obligated to? If so, then it might be time to release it and let that release, let that clearing inspire and spark joy. All right. Thank you for watching or listening. I'm going to end there today. Thank you for just letting me unpack this and receiving this. And I would love to hear your feedback. Yes, I'm asking for something in return. I'd love to hear your feedback. How did this land for you? What did it inspire for you? And what did it open up? All right. Have a beautiful day or evening. I love you. I cherish you. Namaste.